improvement could they make this year? And it looks as though with an entire off-season to work with his players and deliver his message, that bit of Harbaugh magic seems to be working, because the Ravens are going great and the 49ers are going great. They're the NFL equivalent of the Scott brothers, only these two are working a few miracles right now.
Always a sore point for me, the Ravens. I backed them last year to win the Super Bowl, and I still think they would have gone mighty close if it had got there. And I was thinking, I'm going to have something on them again this year. No, I'll wait for week one. Bang, $19 into $14.
I was just going to say
I've
that.
missed out again. I should tell you, interesting, just speaking generally about betting on the NFL, the theory that the odds are too highly weighted for the home team, I think they just take too much into account that the team's playing at home. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I like to do the multi thing, and I do like to
multi thing.
I do like to take. Well, I don't like to watch one game. I like to chop and change among the games. So I want a vested interest in as many as possible.
He's my kind of guy, Tayo.
Trust me, Turfy knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. Thanks, Dash.
I do like the point spreads, especially when perhaps it's more favoured towards a close game, but you think there is a particularly bad team that could get blown out. And yeah, it does weight towards home teams because the perception of it's difficult for visiting quarterbacks, the noise that's made in the stadium.
Well, I'm asking you, do you agree with that?
I probably do, but then again, a bad quarterback in a noisy stadium, normally that is a pretty good situation to bet against them to lose by as much as possible. Although the one player that was in that situation last week, Blaine Gabbert from the Jacksonville Jaguars, only lost by 3 points to Minnesota at Minnesota. So I'm going to stick with that theory again.
What's the relevance?
Bad quarterbacks on the road, bet against.
What's the relevance of the noisy stadium?
When you're calling out your
You're
plays,
saying they can't hear the plays?
Yep. So say the defense recognises the formation you line up in and then lines up in a way that you think, oh no, if I throw this pass, that player's got coverage.
Yep.
You shout an audible, your players switch, but if you're trying to shout an audible and no one can hear you in the stadium, you either have to burn a timeout or run the original play and take that risk.
You'd think they just put headsets in all the helmets rather than just the quarterbacks.
I did laugh, and I don't do this often, but I did. I was flicking the channels, okay, but I accidentally happened upon the lingerie footy league.
Accidentally stayed there for a while.
And I noticed the quarterback person had the plays, on the forearm, just like the. It's like the NFL. I don't know why I think they shouldn't. But
Sounds like me in exams back at uni. Just had all the cheat notes on my arm.
I did think it was funny, given the field's only about 15 yards long.
Paul's given us a call from Cranbourne. G'day, Paul.
G'day.
Fire away, mate. Want to have a chat about the Steelers?
I just, with the Steelers being favourites, with the loss of Harrison and Palamu in their defence, do you think they could be a very big risk?
At this stage, after the way the Broncos played against the Pittsburgh defence, the end has always been forecast for this much vaunted Pittsburgh defence, and you take out more players, as you mentioned, it gets that little bit closer, and now they do have this big test against the New York offence that put up 48 points. I guess, what sort of a read do you have on this one, Al, as far as, is it Pittsburgh at home that retains favouritism, or has New York's blazing form got them into a favourable position?
No, I mean, this is sort of tying back to Doc's point a little bit. Pittsburgh are at home.
Here's a great example of the betting. I think they're favourites because it's at home.
Well, the punters are supported as well. I mean, Pittsburgh have been $1.42 into $1.36. The Jets have been $2.95 out to $3.20, and the Lions into a flat 5. So, so the money's been for Pittsburgh. I mean, clearly, this is. I know it's only week 2, but almost a do-or-die game for them. I mean, Baltimore had a strong win first time. They share the same division. So a really important game, and if all of a sudden Pittsburgh get rolled here as well, this is far from an ideal start for them.
And especially given that Ben Roethlisberger, I don't know if he's going to make it through the season without sustaining an injury and missing weeks.
Has his wife had that baby yet? Wasn't he threatening, not threatening, wasn't he suggesting he wasn't going to play if the baby was imminent?
I don't know if the baby has been born yet, but what
a lot of things you've got to take into account when you're doing the form.
Well, what I do know is that Roethlisberger is getting no protection from his offensive line. There was actually a play last week where he got sacked.
Yeah, he got sacked
3 plays in a row by the Broncos, and it was mince meat. He was just getting absolutely destroyed. So
it was fabulous for those of us who may have had a pecuniary interest in Denver last week.
Just figuratively speaking, he's not referring to anyone specific at all.
No, I'm not saying no. Heck no.
You're listening to Betstars and Stripes. Thanks to the wonderful crew at Betstar. It's so easy to bet on the go with Betstar. Head to betstar.mobi and take us on anywhere, anytime. Fast and friendly service online or over the phone. And a reminder that Betstar's NFL $2 power lines go live every Sunday at 4 p.m. until kickoff. So they're up there right now. Head to betstar.com.au or betstar.mobi to take advantage of this great offer now. Plenty more to come after this.
This is Bet Stars and Stripes with Dr. Turf and Alice Gander.
Betstars and Stripes thanks to Betstar. Betstar's feature race markets will be live 98% of the time all spring long. Head to betstar.com.au or betstar.mobi for all markets and the famous Betstar feature doubles. Ed Wyatt joins us again from the UK. He will be back in the land of Oz very, very shortly, and we'll have him in the studio going forward. But Ed, nice for you to join us on the other side of the world again.
Yeah, no problem. Nice morning here in London, so happy to be on board.
Hey, Ed, just out of curiosity, how many games are you able to see in London?
Sky Sports has 2, I believe. I think that's a regular thing. And then the BBC's just done a deal for Monday Night Football, which at the moment is on the web only, so it's not on TV yet. And then the Sunday night game is on Channel 4, so I guess that's 3 live games, and then if you want to go on the computer as well, you get a 4th.
Okay, mate. How did you read week 1?
Well, I tell you what, I didn't read it very well because there were a few games that really surprised me. I'll be honest with you. I didn't expect that the Falcons were going to look so good. The Eagles had a lot of trouble with the Browns. I certainly didn't think the Redskins were going to take care of the Saints the way they did. And the only thing I felt good about was telling people not to worry about the Jets preseason. That preseason football is essentially meaningless to the average fan because they came out and thumped the Bills after scoring no touchdowns in the preseason.
Yeah, you did say that last week, that it was a bit like, I think you actually likened it to what have we got, the NAB Cup. You're spot on there. So okay, in general terms, Ed, did we learn much?
Well, week 1 is one thing that, and a lot of people are on board with this theory now, that week 1 there's usually an immense overreaction. People whose teams get blown out then think, oh, we've got to sack the coach, we've got to bench the quarterback, that kind of thing. Now it's kind of reversed the other way, where people have seen that for so many years that they've just decided, all right, let's wait a few weeks before we start to panic. So if you're a New Orleans Saints fan, let's not say, well, the off season obviously screwed us over. You know, the bounty gate killed us. We're in big trouble. We're not going anywhere. Let's rebound and see what happens this way. If you're the Steelers, the Bengals, people like that, let's just wait. Let's see what's happening. 2 or 3 weeks in, maybe then you push the panic button.
Ed, as we've said, it's only been week 1, but there has been some movements in the Super Bowl market already. Why don't I go through a few of the ones at the top end of the market and just get your views and feelings on them week 1 and whether the market's adjusted accordingly. New England. Strong win week 1. They've been $7 into $6 and still outright favourite. Thoughts on that?
Yep, I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, I didn't get to see that game. I saw some of the highlights. I think New England's, they're certainly one of my favorites, 2 or 3 that I think could make the Super Bowl and win it. So, yeah, I think that's right on the money. What
did you make of the Green Bay Packers? They've been they were $12 into $7 prior to last week, and they've been $7 out to $8 after their loss to the 49ers at home. What did you make of that? We touched on it before this segment, but what are your thoughts? I'd be interested in.
Yeah, I thought that Green Bay would put up a better effort. San Francisco looked really good, but the Packers, as you know, responded with that Thursday night win over Chicago. So they're not in that 0-2 hole, which had been really bad. I think they'll be fine. I think what we found out is that San Francisco is a pretty good football team, that defense is still there. And if Alex Smith, again, I think we mentioned this last week, he's a key to that team. If he can play as well as he did, they're going to go a long way, especially in a pretty weak division. So I think with Green Bay, don't panic, don't get off them at the moment. I still think they'll be there. I mean, they've got some problems. Their defense is a little bit of a question mark. But I think, if you're on the Packers, I think you stay with them. Don't panic at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the market supported your theory on San Francisco as well, because they've been $13 into $8. So they look like they could be the real deal and go a step or two further this season. But Houston Texans, they had a strong win over Miami. They've been $10 into $8.50.
Yeah, I think Houston. The guys picked Houston to make it to the AFC Championship game, so I'm a big rap for them. They've got a very, very good defense, and the key there is that their big players stay healthy. Andre Johnson and Arian Foster and Matt Shaw, they need to stay healthy. But I think that's a great reflection. I mean, that's a team I like, a team a lot of people like. That doesn't surprise me at all, Alan, I'll be honest with you.
And there's been much talked about, a lot of hype. It's only 7 days into the season or so, and there's been a lot of hype about Baltimore. They've been $19 into $15 after smashing the Bengals. Doc reckons he was very upset that he missed the $19. Do you think the $14 is still good value for him?
I think $14 is still pretty good value. There's a really good football team there. It's aging a little bit, as we mentioned last week. The defense is getting a bit older, but that's still a real good team. Nice test this weekend with the Eagles, because Philadelphia's coming off that really ugly game against Cleveland, which had the Twitter world already calling for Andy Reid's head after one game. So I think if this would be a real good test for both of these clubs. And the Ravens last year, one of the things they did was they had some really bad losses. I think they lost to the Jaguars in a nationally televised game. Just really lost a few, won some big ones, don't get me wrong, but they were very inconsistent. So this would be a real good test for them going to Philadelphia.
Denver have been $19 into $15. They beat the Steelers last week. 19 into 15. Thoughts on that, Ed?
Yeah, Denver, look, they're my team, so there's a little bit of prejudice here, but I'm just still worried about them. I'm still not convinced that, Peyton had a great game. It's a huge win over the Steelers in that very difficult early schedule that they have. It's going to take a few more weeks for me to become a real believer, I'll be honest with you, but I think that's decent value. I mean, I think that AFC West is up for grabs and they can win that. And when you've got Peyton Manning at the helm, going into a playoff, if you get into that situation, you've certainly been there before. So I don't think that's bad. From my standpoint, I'm a little too close to it being a hardcore fan, but I'd wait a couple weeks on Denver. On the other hand, the money may drop in a couple weeks if they win a couple more.
No, fair enough. Any of the other ones that I've missed, mate, that you think would be worth mentioning? I've got the whole market in front of me, so if there's any you want to mention, let me know.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I'd love to know what the Jets did after that performance against Buffalo.
Yeah, they've still been pretty solid, actually. I think they were $51 into $41 now, but obviously waiting to get some more exposed form on them. So still a $41 chance to win the Super Bowl.
Okay, which, this may sound utterly ridiculous, but if you're looking for a bit of a long shot, if you're looking for something smoky out there, look, it's a good football team. I mean, the questions were about how team was going to affect the chemistry. The defense is still solid. If they can move the football the way they did against Buffalo, they're going to be fine. So, that's a team, and I had them picked to make the playoffs at the start of the year. I'm certainly not on the bandwagon now after one win over Buffalo, and they still could implode. But if you're looking at $40 or something for a pretty decent football team, that's really not a bad opportunity, in my opinion.
Ed, off the field, how was the refereeing week one, given the fact that they're on strike at the minute?
Well, I think last week I said we hadn't noticed anything. The Green Bay-San Francisco game had a litany of issues. The thing is, unlike the AFL, I think American sports fans are just kind of used to bad officiating. I think they just deal with it.
Yeah.
You see the NBA and how some of the horrific calls that have been thrown up that have cost teams championships, and I think Americans are just kind of, you just deal with it, And so I think as far as the NFL, people are happy to have it back. They're happy to have games back. They're happy to have wagering back. They're happy to have their fantasy football back. And if there are a couple bad calls, well, you just have to ride with it. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing pans out, I'll be honest with you.
So what you're saying is that as far as the referees being locked out, they're not being locked out far enough away.
Yeah, look, I think until you see some really, really, if you see a really horribly blown call or a game that's just officiated really poorly, and some would argue there were a couple last week. Apparently some games went really long, which, again, the NFL's been doing that for the last few years with TV anyway. But that's the one thing. Until there's something